Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get into something that I think a lot of us have experienced but maybe haven't put a name to. We're going to talk about the sneaky, almost invisible mistakes that might be secretly sabotaging your urban garden. You've put in the work, you've got the passion, but maybe your plants just aren't thriving the way you imagined. It can be incredibly frustrating to see your efforts not pay off, with yellowing leaves, stunted growth, or just a general lack of vigor. Trust me, I've been there. And it's a puzzle that can feel impossible to solve. But here's the thing, urban gardening is one of the most rewarding things you can do. It connects you to your food, beautifies your space, and gives you a real sense of accomplishment. The key to success often lies in understanding the fundamentals and avoiding a few common but critical misconceptions. It's not about having some magical green thumb, it's about knowledge and observation. So, stick with me as we dive deep into these hidden saboteurs. We'll uncover what might be going wrong and, more importantly, how to fix it, so you can transform your garden into the lush, productive oasis you've been dreaming of. We're going to break it all down, step by step, from the ground up, literally. We'll look at the soil you're using, how you're watering, the light your plants are getting, and even the air they're breathing. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear checklist of things to look for and the confidence to make the right adjustments. Let's get our hands dirty and figure this out together. Your garden is about to get a major upgrade, so let's jump right in. Alright, let's start at the absolute foundation of your garden, the soil. This is, without a doubt, one of the most common areas where things can go wrong, especially in an urban setting. A lot of beginners, and even some experienced gardeners, make the mistake of grabbing any old bag of potting soil, or even worse, using soil directly from the ground in their containers. The problem is soil isn't just dirt, it's a complex ecosystem, and the soil you find in your backyard is often heavy, dense clay or sand that just won't work in a pot. It compacts easily, suffocating the roots and preventing proper drainage. What you end up with is a recipe for disaster. When soil is too dense, water has nowhere to go. It sits at the bottom of the pot, creating a soggy, anaerobic environment where roots can't breathe. This leads directly to root rot, one of the most common plant killers out there. On the flip side, if the soil is too sandy or lacks organic matter, water will run straight through, taking all the vital nutrients with it. Your plants will be thirsty and hungry, no matter how much you water or fertilize them. It's a frustrating cycle that leaves you wondering what you're doing wrong. The key is to choose the right medium for the job. For container gardening, you absolutely need a high-quality potting mix. Look for mixes that contain ingredients like peat moss or coco coir for moisture retention, perlite or vermiculite for aeration and drainage, and compost or worm castings for a slow-release source of nutrients. These components work together to create a light, fluffy structure that gives roots the perfect balance of air, water, and food. It's like building a luxury home for your plants' roots. Give them what they need, and they will thrive. And don't forget about amending your soil over time. As your plants grow, they use up the nutrients in the potting mix. Every season, or even mid-season for heavy feeders like tomatoes, it's a great practice to top-dress your containers with a fresh layer of compost or a balanced organic fertilizer. This replenishes the nutrient supply and keeps the soil biology active and healthy. Investing in good soil is the single best investment you can make for the success of your urban garden. Don't skimp on the foundation. Next up, let's talk about water. This seems so simple, right? Plants need water to live. But the act of watering is more of a delicate dance than a straightforward chore, and it's where so many of us trip up. The two biggest culprits are overwatering and underwatering, and honestly, overwatering is probably the more common and more dangerous of the two. We love our plants, so we want to care for them, and that often translates into giving them a little drink every single day, just in case. But this constant moisture is a death sentence for most plants. When you overwater, you're essentially drowning your plant's roots. Remember how we talked about needing air in the soil? When every single pore space in the soil is filled with water, there's no room for oxygen. The roots can't perform their basic functions, they start to decay, and the plant begins to show signs of distress that, ironically, look a lot like the signs of being thirsty. Wilting, yellowing leaves. This is why it's so confusing. You see a wilting plant, you assume it's dry, you give it more water, and you accelerate its decline. It's a vicious cycle born from the best intentions. On the other end of the spectrum is underwatering. This is a bit more straightforward, but still a common issue. especially with the variable conditions on a balcony or rooftop. Hot sun and wind can dry out containers incredibly fast. When a plant is underwatered, it can't transport nutrients, it can't photosynthesize effectively, and its growth will be severely stunted. You'll see wilting, crispy brown leaf edges, and a general lack of vitality. While a plant can often recover from being a little too dry, repeated cycles of wilting and reviving cause a lot of stress, and will ultimately weaken the plant over time. So, how do you get it right? The answer is to stop watering on a rigid schedule and start checking your soil. The finger test is your best friend. Stick your index finger into the soil up to your second knuckle. If it feels dry at that depth, it's time to water. If it feels moist, hold off. When you do water, water deeply and thoroughly until you see it running out of the drainage holes at the bottom. This encourages deep root growth and ensures the entire root ball is hydrated. Then, let the top few inches of soil dry out before you water again. Master this, and you've mastered one of the biggest secrets to a healthy garden. Okay, we've got our soil and our watering down. Now let's look up. Let's talk about light. Photosynthesis is the engine that drives plant growth, and sunlight is the fuel. But just like with watering, it's not about more is always better. It's about providing the right amount of light for the specific plants you're trying to grow. This is where a little bit of research before you buy a plant can save you a world of heartache later on. The biggest mistake here is a mismatch between what a plant needs and what your space can provide. Think of your urban garden, your balcony, your patio, your windowsill, as a landscape with different microclimates. That corner that gets blasted by the intense afternoon sun for 8 hours is a completely different environment from the shady spot by the wall that only gets a couple of hours of gentle morning light. Trying to grow a shade-loving hosta in that sun-blasted corner is going to result in scorched, crispy leaves. Conversely, trying to grow a sun-loving tomato plant in that shady spot will give you a tall, spindly, weak plant with very little, if any, fruit. The terms you need to know are full sun, part sun, or partial shade, and full shade. Full sun generally means 6 or more hours of direct, unfiltered sunlight per day. This is what your fruiting vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers crave. Partial sun or shade usually means about 4 to 6 hours of sun, preferably the less intense morning sun. This is ideal for many leafy greens like lettuce and spinach, as well as many flowers. Full shade means less than 4 hours of direct sun, and it's a challenging condition, but plants like ferns, hostas, and impatiens can do well there. Your job as an urban gardener is to become an expert observer of your own space. Before you even buy a plant, spend a day tracking the sun. See which areas get light when they get it, and for how long. Take notes. This sun map is an invaluable tool. It allows you to put the right plant in the right place from the very beginning. If you find your sun-loving plants are looking leggy, meaning they have long, stretched-out stems with lots of space between the leaves, it's a classic sign they aren't getting enough light and are stretching to find more. It's a simple fix. Move them to a sunnier spot and they'll thank you for it. This last point is one that's often completely overlooked in urban gardening, but it can be the silent killer of your beautiful plant's air circulation. In a traditional garden, breezes naturally flow between plants, drying off leaves and keeping the air fresh. But on a crowded balcony or a sheltered patio, the air can become stagnant. This lack of airflow creates the perfect breeding ground for a host of problems, particularly fungal diseases. Think of it like a stuffy room. It's just not a healthy environment. Diseases like powdery mildew, downy mildew, and various rusts thrive in humid, still conditions. When water sits on leaves for extended periods after you water or after it rains, it gives these fungal spores a perfect opportunity to germinate and take hold. You'll start to see a white, dusty coating on your squash leaves or strange spots on your basil. Once these diseases get established, they can be very difficult to get rid of, spreading from plant to plant and weakening their overall health and productivity. Good airflow is your #1 preventative defense. It's not just diseases either. Many common garden pests like spider mites and aphids also prefer the sheltered, still conditions of a garden with poor air circulation. They can multiply rapidly in these protected spots, hidden from wind and predators. By improving airflow, you create a less hospitable environment for these pests, and make it easier for beneficial insects to move through your garden and help keep pest populations in check. It's a simple passive way to practice integrated pest management. So, how do we fix this? The 2 key strategies are spacing and pruning. First, resist the temptation to crowd your containers too closely together. I know you want to maximize your growing space, but give your plants some elbow room. Leaving a few inches between pots allows air to flow all around them. Second, don't be afraid to prune. As your plants grow, selectively remove some of the lower leaves or branches from the interior of the plant, especially on dense plants like tomatoes or basil. This opens up the plant's structure, allowing air to move through the foliage, dry leaves faster, and keep the plant healthy from the inside out. So there you have it. 4 of the most common yet sneaky ways you might be sabotaging your garden without even realizing it. From the soil under your feet to the air your plants breathe, each element plays a critical role. Remember, urban gardening isn't about perfection from day one. It's a journey of learning, observing, and connecting with the natural world in your own unique space. Every yellow leaf, every failed seedling is not a failure, it's a lesson. It's your garden communicating with you, telling you what it needs. The key is to listen, learn, and adapt. I truly believe that the most valuable tool in your gardening kit is your own experience. So, I would love to hear from you. Head down to the comments and share your own gardening journey. Have you ever battled root rot from overwatering? Did you finally figure out the perfect sunny spot for your peppers? Sharing our stories, both the successes and the struggles, helps us all grow as gardeners. Let's build a community of knowledge right here, so we can help each other cultivate the amazing urban oases we're all aiming for. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and taking a step towards becoming an even better gardener. If you found this helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on what's next. In our next video, we're going to be diving into container selection and why the pot you choose is just as important as what you put in it. Until then, keep your hands dirty, keep learning, and happy gardening.